that cover the bolt pits dates the year of the reign of Jedefre, and most people overlooked this evidence.
Amongst the graffiti was found this symbol of 3 falcons which Jedefre adopted as his crest. It's significant because it underlines Jedefre's loyalty to his family lineage. While the Sphinx restored Khufu's power on Earth, Vasil claims that Jedefre also planned to help his father in the afterlife. To do this, Jedefre came up with another extraordinary invention. He ordered the construction of 2 enormous boats. Vasil believes they are unique in Egyptian history because they were never assembled. Their parts were laid out like a giant kit. Then Jedefre had 2 deep pits dug beside his father's Great Pyramid, and into these the boats were lowered.
The fact that Jedefre built these boat pits and put the boats in pieces shows that he wanted to help his father, his dead father, in the afterlife.
All the parts life. Khufu would be able to sail on the celestial Nile with Ra, the sun god. After 4,500 years, the boat components have survived. One of the boats is in perfect condition and has been assembled. After Jedefre buried the boat parts, the pits were covered. Then the Great Pyramid's enclosure wall was completed, covering the hidden pits. The boats were so well hidden that they weren't found until 1955. Archaeologists discovered them beneath 42 stone blocks, each weighing 20 tons. These were covered in writing, which Vasil has studied.
We have on the stones that cover the boat pits dates and the names of Jedefre. And one of the dates is speaking about the 11th year of the reign of Jedefre, and most people overlooked this evidence.
Amongst the graffiti was found this symbol of 3 falcons which Jedefre adopted as his crest. It's significant because it underlines Jedefre's loyalty to his family lineage. His father Khufu had 2 falcons, and his father before him 1 falcon. While the boats would protect Khufu in the afterlife, it was the Sphinx that would look after him on Earth. But to Vasil, it seemed unlikely that the Egyptians would have attempted to build a Sphinx for the very first time on such a scale. So he began to investigate whether there had been Sphinxes before.
We cannot trace when the idea of a Sphinx started, but what we know is that during the reign of Jedefre, Sphinxes existed.
Jedefre had a liking for sculpture, and the royal workshops were kept busy during his reign. Up until Jedefre, Old Kingdom sculpture had been built on a small scale. It was designed for royal tombs. Often it was only displayed in special rooms. Statues were usually seated. Sculptors paid little attention to their backs, since they were almost always set against the wall. Vasil has discovered that Jedefre was fascinated by stone. He's found the quarry where Jedefre, as the son of the sun god, would collect the rare diorite rock prized for its golden glow. And this has led Vasil to a sculpture which shows that the Great Sphinx may not have been the first. Beside Jedefre's solar temple at Abu Roash, a remarkable find was made. From diorite stone may well be the very first Sphinx. At the back, where it's broken, Vasil believes that it was once attached to an animal body. And another Sphinx has been discovered, this time female, possibly of Jedefre's wife.
Beautiful piece.
It is.
It's the first time I see it.
Really?
Yes.
Very little is known about this Sphinx, and it creates great debate amongst Egyptologists. But it's a further indication that Sphinxes were being made during Jedefre's reign. They might even have been prototypes for the Great Sphinx itself, where the carving reaches perfection. Glyn Williams has discovered that their sculpting skills were highly advanced.
There are beautiful transitions in the actual carving of the Sphinx's head between one form, the way it runs into another is absolutely beautiful. It's ever so sophisticated. It's one of the best bits of transitional form making that I've seen.
Jedefre's craftsmen might have carved sphinxes on a small scale, but a sculpture of this size presented a whole new set of problems.
Just the logistics of that size, dealing with scaffolding, a lot of people working, which would have slowed down the process, where you have to make sure that the symmetry really worked, and the form here on this side is exactly the same movement and swelling as the form on that side. Everything works in accordance. And then you've got the very accurate and big decorative stripes, which would have taken some cutting on a large scale. And then, of course, it was coloured.
Today, we see the Sphinx in plain stone. But in ancient Egypt, all statues were painted. To their eyes, it would have looked very different.
The face was red, definitely. The nemes was painted with colors. I can imagine that actually this could look like quite a kitschy image, but our harmony was not the same like the Egyptian harmony.
The Sphinx might have had dark green or olive green eyes. The whole face was a reddish brown, and the nemes had blue and gold stripes.